Gary, why is it so hard for us to give that grace? I mean, it seems like a lot of younger couples, they live there, and then time kind of happens and kids happen, and we get a little more comparing.
Yeah. You know, I think part of it is just our sinful nature, because the reality is a cherishing marriage is so rich, it's worth working for. I think one of the biggest lies is that infatuation is the pinnacle of marriage. And the reason I wrote Cherishing is that infatuation neurologically lasts about 12 to 18 months. Unless you have a damaged brain, it can't go longer than that. Cherishing is better. I've been infatuated, and I'm in a marriage where we're growing in cherishing. I'm saying cherishing is better. I don't envy those infatuated couples, because I know the infatuation is going to end, and they're going to have to do the hard work of realizing who they're married to, go through the grace and forgiveness, and get through the bitterness. And the other thing, John, that's just so silly is contempt makes no sense. I was with a couple one time at a dinner, and he's a very quiet man, and he wasn't participating at all. I was just trying to be nice and bring him into the conversation. And so, knowing what I did, I said, don't chefs usually think such and such? And she immediately cut in. He's not a chef, he's a cook. A chef prepares things, he just heats them up. There's a difference. And it was clear that she was afraid I was going to give her husband a little more respect than he deserved. And she was horrified. Why would anybody respect my husband? And I knew his situation. He worked at a rest home. He had charge of a kitchen where they fed 200 residents every day. And I know that the budget is always tight. And then say, okay, here's a budget, and we're cutting it by 10%. And you've got to offer 3 different entrees. And so sadly, a lot of meals probably are just heated up and whatnot. And yet he said, but I prepare things. She goes, no, you don't. You just heat them up. And she goes, besides, the residents don't care what the food tastes like anyway. And he says, they do. They really do. And I thought, here's a man with really trying to make a noble effort. He can make a difference in those people's lives. He can maybe, why wouldn't she pray for him, even a miracle of provision like Jesus feeding the 5,000? She could say, Lord, with a decreased budget, can my husband create tasty, nourishing meals for people at a difficult time in their life? When you look at Scripture, there are 2 groups I wouldn't mess with: orphans and widows. If you want to see God get angry, I mean, God so many times says, look after the orphans and widows in their distress in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, that's what really gets him angry. He's directly addressing one of the demographics that get so ignored in our society. But she was just so afraid that she was not going to let anybody call him a chef and a cook. And then I just thought, I'm sorry, but how stupid. Because they're going to go home and they're going to have a tender evening. Honey, thank you. We had such a wonderful evening. Can I rub your feet? Can I give you a back rub before we go to bed? He's going to feel distant, and he's going to be quiet, so she's going to say, see how boring a guy I married. And I just thought, it serves no purpose to express disdain or disrespect or contempt. It's never in the history of the world produced a more intimate, more fulfilling, and happier marriage. So have contempt for contempt. Aim for cherishing, and cherish is a strategy we can use to bring our spouse to their glory.